As I've been testing this PunQtum SpeakerStation, BeltPacks, and headsets, it's become obvious that this system was built for churches and live events. Welcome to my tech video for this PunQtum Intercom system. Whether you own this system or are looking to learn more after watching my review video over on the Church Production video channel, welcome and I'm glad you're here. I'm Nathan, if we haven't met, from Crazy Amazing Designs. I train and equip leaders to do church tech and event production with excellence. I was sent this PunQtum SpeakerStation with a few BeltPack units to try out. I love that this system is IP based, it's easy to update settings on the BeltPacks, it's easy to add users, and it offers 32 channels of communication. The flexibility of this system is a whole lot greater than the other systems I've used in the past. The old XLR cables that linked BeltPacks in the past have been replaced with Ethernet cables that daisy chain BeltPacks together, transmitting data and power over what is called Power over Ethernet, or PoE+. This means the BeltPacks cannot just connect to any ordinary network switch, but require a network switch that pushes this PoE+ from the RJ45 ports. The first thing we're going to do is connect one of the non-PoE+ Ethernet ports on the SpeakerStation to our network. Then we can download the QTool software, which will allow us to configure this system. Through this video, I'm going to look at functions on the SpeakerStation and BeltPacks with constant reference to the QTool software that I'm running on my Mac, but you can also put it on a PC, and it allows you to connect to and update these devices. At its simplest, this system only requires a few pieces of gear to get operational. A SpeakerStation, 2 BeltPacks, because they have to communicate, 2 headsets, and 2 Ethernet cables. So let's take a detailed look at both the SpeakerStation and the BeltPacks, and then we're going to come back around and look at what a simple setup of this system would look like. Then a more advanced version of this system, which integrates Power over Ethernet devices to expand the system beyond the SpeakerStation. So the PunQtum SpeakerStation is the core of this system. On the back, it has 2 regular Ethernet ports and 2 Power over Ethernet Plus ports. This way, if you don't have any PoE Plus enabled network switch ports, you can still daisy chain 4 BeltPack units through port 1 and 4 BeltPacks connected to port 2. The SpeakerStation also has 2 XLR inputs that allow 2 separate program inputs to be monitored by users on the system, as well as 2 XLR outputs for public address signals to connect to the speakers or recording output. This icon is the party line icon, which shows how many devices are connected across this system. Next, we have the BeltPacks, which have a really nice screen on the front for showing us what is going on. Users can push to talk to the configured channels based on the role assigned to the BeltPacks. Using the rotary encoders on each side of the BeltPacks, it's easy to turn the volume up and down for each push-to-talk channel independently. Then by pushing the volume button, you have additional controls to adjust the volume for master, program, buzzer, side tone, audio all separately. The master volume sets the overall volume for your BeltPack. The program volume controls the volume of your program audio input. The buzzer volume controls the volume of the call signals, and the side tone volume controls the volume of your own voice in your headset. The menu button takes you to a setup page where you can change some settings on the BeltPacks. The first option might be lock device, which only shows if it's toggled on inside of the QTool software. The next setting down is change role, which is super useful and might be my favorite setting. In this PunQtum system, a role is basically a template that is configured with all the settings needed for that device. Throughout this video, we're going to see all the different things we can assign to a role. By default, I love how this system uses such logical names for the default roles. Channels 1 and 2, channels 1 and 3, channels 1 and 4. Each combination is listed, but we can rename these to anything. So it could be video team, which gets channels 1 and 2, then audio team, which gets channels 1 and 3. Channel 1 being a general line, channels 2 and 3 being team-specific lines. These types of renaming updates will need to happen in the QTool software. On the Device Config tab, click the BeltPack under Device Roles. Now you can change the name of the roles. Clicking on them also opens the settings page, and more on this in a bit. The next setting down is change I/O settings. This allows users to pick between two profiles depending on the headsets they have connected to the system. A traditional comms headset like these ones that have either single or these dual earmuffs would use the dynamic preset. Then the second profile is for an electret headset mic. Next, we have display options, which gives you display brightness settings. Dark screensaver mode switches the screen to the PunQtum logo after a certain number of seconds inactive. We also have screen flip, which inverts the screen. It's really neat that the talk and call buttons also flip to match this. Next, program input allows you to enable or disable program audio to this headset. At the bottom of the list is the About page, which shows information like IP address of this BeltPack. On the top of the BeltPacks, you're going to find this button P that takes you to an alternative page, which gives you access to up to 4 additional push-to-talk modes. Understanding these modes is very important as they contain some of the core concepts that make this system really great. Let's go through all of these. PA1 and PA2 are public announce options that, when pushed, send the spoken audio to the XLR out ports on the back of the SpeakerStation. Talk to All cuts through the channel layers and allows a user to speak directly to all configured out of the 32 potential comms channels. Great for when the director needs to speak to everybody on every channel. 2 of these talk to groups can be configured, and the second one is typically talk to many. Similar to talk to all, this allows for groups to be created that contain specific channels that will be able to hear when someone speaks to this group. These talk to groups can be created in QTool on the System Assets tab, then configured on the System Config tab. Talk to all can be toggled on, or you can just select the specific groups that should be heard when you speak. Control output switching. This allows the GPIO pins on the back of the SpeakerStation to control external devices from configurable buttons on the PunQtum hardware. System mute temporarily stops all system audio output while the system mute button is held down. System silence stops most all system audio output, basically shuts down the system when no one is using it. For example, after sound check while everyone is at production meeting to prevent unauthorized use. Mic kill allows users to silence open mics with the push of a button, which is really nice because people always leave their mics open and then you have to ask them to turn them off. Looking at all of these functions, you can assign a maximum of 4 of these functions to this alt page using the QTool configuration software. The 4 buttons on this alternative page are customizable per role. So this gives each BeltPack a lot of control, but also is easy to remove the control from any device you wish to limit the control from. Let's move over and take a more detailed look at the SpeakerStation, which is ideal for a producer position in the control room. This unit is a larger version of the BeltPacks. It contains 2 screens with 4 talk and call buttons, and a 3rd screen for a dedicated alt page, which is what the BeltPacks call it. Then to take the functionality even further, it also has a P button that gives you an alt page just like the BeltPacks. From here, 4 more functions can be selected. The SpeakerStation also has some dedicated buttons: mic mute, mic kill. Then per channel, it has a dedicated rotary encoder, replay button, call button, and talk button. The SpeakerStation has a spot for a screw-in gooseneck mic, which is not included but can be purchased. There is a switch to toggle between the use of the gooseneck mic and the headset that you can connect to the SpeakerStation. To access the menu system on the SpeakerStation, push the main rotary encoder and it looks very similar to that on the BeltPacks. Back in the QTool software on the Device Config tab, on the left we have Device Roles. Selecting the SpeakerStation, the BeltPack, or the wireless app, we can add or remove roles. This is where we configure the presets called roles, which can be assigned to the devices that give them all their configuration. Each list of roles are unique to that device. Clicking on the BeltPack roles, we can see the list of these roles presets available to the system. Here is the channels 1 and 2 role we were messing with earlier. Clicking on the preset shows 2 pages, key sets, and settings. Here is where we configure a passcode for the device. Here we can also allow or deny the BeltPack users to change settings from the BeltPacks. We can define the BeltPack brightness as well as turn on the screensaver. IFB dim lets you set the amount that the program audio is lowered when someone speaks on the channel. Role priority gives you the ability to set priority to belt packs that are more important to be heard if the line is busy. On the Key Sets tab, click on the talk buttons to switch between the settings for each. Assign the primary and secondary talk buttons to be any defined channel or other function that we talked about earlier. With the button operation mode set to auto, this allows the user to push to talk or hold to latch the channel open to talk. Quiet environment mode exists to keep the system quieter for environments like theaters where system noise can cause distraction. Audio mode isolate helps users focus on the conversations they need to hear most. Audio mode IFB dips the program audio level that the users are listening to when someone speaks on the channel. The button below the talk button is the call button, used as a signaling feature to get the attention of other users on the line. We can also click on the visual representation of the P button, which takes us to the alternate page where those 4 facing buttons allow us to use the assigned functions. There are many groups, functions, and control functions that can be assigned to these buttons. Clicking over to the SpeakerStation roles, I'll click on the default role, channels 1 to 4. The settings screen is very similar to the BeltPack, with 3 exceptions. Users can change BeltPack I/O settings. This is now separate from front I/O settings. Users can change operation mode, which lets you switch between auto, latch, and push. The last setting is disable mic kill. This is the function to turn off an open mic. In the device I/O settings, we also see some presets, the SpeakerStation front as well as BeltPack I/O, where we can update the presets that let us change between those dynamic and electret headset mics. Other than changing the mic type, you can see the gain is adjusted up and down a little depending on the mic type. Finally, the SpeakerStation back I/O settings give us 2 default presets to allow us to change the analog in on the back of the SpeakerStation between on and off. We have now talked over a lot of settings for the purpose of understanding this system. I like to not just know that my systems work, but I always seek to understand how they work. This has been massively valuable to me when it comes to troubleshooting issues or implementing new workflows with systems like this. Now, let's talk about putting together a simple setup. Out of the box with no other networking gear, you could set up the SpeakerStation in your live stream control room using the 2 built-in Power over Ethernet Plus ports. I'll connect port 1 to 4 belt packs for team members in this room. Then with the second PoE Plus port, I'll run an Ethernet cable to front of house and connect 4 more belt packs for the team there. This is a viable solution which utilizes the PoE Plus ports on the SpeakerStation and allows for 8 belt packs to communicate with each other. In the Device Config tab in QTool, I'll assign the default role, channels 1 and 2, to all of our belt packs so that our video team can communicate on channel 2, and channel 1 will be a general line for the entire team to communicate. It's important to keep the video director off the general line so that non-video focused team members don't have to listen to the director calling cameras. The SpeakerStation is best used for a producer position since from here users can push to talk to 4 separate channels. Here I've set up channels 1 and channel 2 so I can talk to either channel like everyone else. With my third talk channel, I'm going to configure one of 2 talk to many groups to be a talk to all. On this preset, I'll select both channels 1 and 2. Now, when I push to talk on my channel 3 button, I'll talk to both channels, so both channels will be able to hear me. The Ethernet cabling that these belt packs use can run up to 300 feet, even with PoE+. So the cable that runs to front of house could easily pass by a couple of manned camera positions near that location and still be utilized at front of house. However, adding more PoE Plus network switches is super easy, not expensive, and would seriously improve your quality of life when using this system. To get started, this switch is a great PoE Plus option from Netgear. If you are just learning about networking, let me explain that this switch is unmanaged, which means it requires no configuration to use. The minimal viable network setup needed to expand your system would be to connect one of the non-PoE Plus ports from your SpeakerStation to this Netgear PoE Plus switch. Then connect an Ethernet port from your building network to this switch. This gives our small network we're building here a connection to a router, which is a device that hands out IP addresses via a process called DHCP. Each connected device will receive an IP address, which allows the devices to communicate with each other. This is not intended to be a separate network, but I do suggest having a production network to keep this traffic separate from the general building network. Having a router dedicated to this production network with the LAN port connected to the Netgear switch, and if you connect a feed from the building network to the WAN port on this router, then you can get internet from the building. Modern devices will ignore PoE Plus on a port it's connected to if it does not need power over Ethernet. More and more devices are becoming IP based, so if you don't have good switches, it might be time to start investing in that direction. This Netgear power over Ethernet switch can push 62 watts across the 8 Ethernet ports. Each PunQtum BeltPack has a max consumption of 3.5 watts, so 17 BeltPacks can be powered from this one switch. Have one of these PoE Plus switches in your control room and connect one of the Ethernet ports to the front of house position where other devices as well as the BeltPacks can be connected and daisy chained together. Run 4 BeltPack per PoE Plus port and 8 BeltPacks per PoE Plus port if you have a switch with even more power. If you need a larger switch, get something like this 16-port switch to connect your many devices together. At some point, you're going to want to consider building a real network with managed switches. These are basically smart switches that can smartly manage and navigate traffic. I recommend the Netgear AV line hardware, which I recently implemented in my church, and it's fantastic. With this level of gear, you can get switches with 24 or 48 ports and begin to separate traffic onto dedicated virtual networks called VLANs. Once we have access to PoE Plus at our different positions, we can now build a much larger intercom system by connecting the PunQtum BeltPacks exactly where we need them. Here I have the SpeakerStation and our live stream control room connecting to the network. Then I have 3 additional BeltPacks daisy chained together for our video director, our PTZ camera operator, our broadcast audio engineer if they ever need to talk. Then at front of house, we have 2 mobile carts, each equipped with network switches. So the audio cart has a BeltPack so they can talk if need be. Then the video cart has 2 BeltPacks for the lighting operator and the ProPresenter graphics operator. We primarily use PTZ cameras, but for events where we have camera operators in the room, we will simply run Ethernet cables from the closest network switch and connect the additional BeltPacks from there. For larger events or systems, we might do a setup where we run these 5 separate comms channels. I would create a role for each of these teams. Then each role would have channel 1 and the specific team channel 2, 3, 4, or 5 on channel 2 of their BeltPacks. That way I could easily assign each BeltPack role to the BeltPack through the software. These roles won't often need to change, but can be always changed from the BeltPack themselves, even temporarily to talk to a different team. This system is fantastic for wired users and includes a wireless app that I'm about to talk about. However, the hardware wireless option, Radial, is super expensive compared to the PunQtum setup. Note that either the radio units or the wireless app can be used together. Using both would require 2 separate speaker stations. I think not having a good wireless headset solution as a part of your comm system is difficult. As a part of our normal use case, I'd like to give a wireless headset to a floater person who can move around the room and help the team to solve issues or just be available to keep an eye on things. Additionally, we could use wireless comms on stage for certain events when we have people stage managing for multiple positions. Wired is not great for either of those scenarios. In some contexts, it might even be better if the whole system was lower quality, even if that means less flexibility, just to get the wireless flexibility. For adding wireless to PunQtum, the SpeakerStation has a wireless app solution, and while I had the system, I for sure tried it out. The iPhone Android app is free, it's called PunQtum, and is easy to find from the App Store. The only requirement for using it is to own the SpeakerStation. No subscriptions. Users can join in on the conversation just like they have a wired BeltPack. Remember, this system has 32 separate channels of communication available. So in our church environment, this is a great option for listening to the video director from a position that needs to move around. Here, I ran my gimbal camera for a service recently and captured some footage for this video. I used the app as a wireless comms unit so that I could hear the video director. I connected my custom molded in-ear monitors to my iPhone with an adapter in my pocket and was able to listen to the video director. I could not speak unless I removed my phone from my pocket and pushed the button using the iPhone mic, but it was super helpful to know when I was live on the live stream. This setup depends on the strength of your Wi-Fi signal, of course. I'm sure there are many potential use cases for this app. I think the best use case for this mobile app would be one that requires integration with the physical hardware, such as how I use it for listening to the video director for running the mobile camera. Get a double ear headset, which will give users the same noise canceling as my molded in-ears and will allow them to hear the comms over the loud room. There could also be use cases for groups of people such as security team to use this wireless app to communicate on dedicated channels. This does require users to be on the same Wi-Fi as the PunQtum unit, so that is a limitation. Our production network, for example, is not building wide. I like the functionality of this app, but I want to say that I would not recommend leaning on this solution. Using personal phones are sort of a pain to ask volunteers to use. It encourages people to be on phones or allows them to see notifications. It requires charged phone batteries, and then you might need to provide earbuds for the operators to keep. Plus, those earbuds need to be good enough to allow users to hear when inside of a church gathering. Also, you're going to need a phone mount. Let's just say speaking from an iPhone mic during a live event is also not a great idea. So maybe try to isolate app users to people in the control room who will not struggle to hear. This app is a neat add-on that is free. So if you own this system, I'm sure you can find some sort of use case. But I don't think this app is something you should depend on for something mission critical. It's been suggested that security team could use it, but I think security team comms should be recordable. Also, they should rely on push-to-talk radios, not people's mobile devices. Let me tell you that when a person has issues with the phone app, they're simply not going to be able to talk when it matters most. Finally, if you are relying on a phone solution for comms, be sure it's not Wi-Fi dependent. You would be better off with Discord. In QTool on the System Config tab, go down to Wireless App and click the plus to the left of the Wireless App button to create a new user. Now, we need to give our user a username and password. I recommend something simple like the lowercase first name of the user and then 4 zeros for the password. It does not really need to be secure, just not easily accessible. You can add multiple users from here, which is why I recommend using the person's first name. Once I have 2 users set up, I'll go over to the Device Config tab. Here, we can set up wireless roles. This will define the setting and talk channels for wireless users. On the settings page, we can see more of what we talked about when we covered the BeltPack. Additionally, we see a select allowed users for this role, so that only users can see this particular role from their device. Over on the Key Sets tab, we see Channel 1 and Channel 2 on the main page. Lots of familiar settings and buttons. Clicking to the alternative page gives us the same options to set up 4 additional functions to be controlled from here. Under Device I/O settings at the bottom, it just shows us an App I/O preset where there is a bandpass filter. PunQtum Q Series BeltPacks and SpeakerStations have a feature called Replay, which allows users from both devices to replay missed or not understood messages. On the BeltPack, simply push the previous recording button to go to the previous message. On the SpeakerStation, each channel also has a dedicated previous recording button. These messages cannot be downloaded as they're not saved anywhere, so as far as I can tell, the USB host connector port on the SpeakerStation does nothing for us end users. We have gone over so many settings and features of this system. When you are ready to push updates to this system, then go to the Online Systems tab in the QTool software, and each of the online devices should appear. From here, you can identify, assign roles, restart units, change mic presets. When you access this screen, and if any of those settings have changed, then you're going to see this scary looking pop-up message that says override settings. Thank you so much for checking out this video and system. This was a lot of content to cover, so if you're still here, then extra thank you. Please subscribe to Crazy Amazing Designs if you'd like to see more of my videos. Also, thank you to Church Production Magazine for sending me this system to bring you this content. See you next time.